Good morning, Jim from Maverickstar Observatory. Guys, I seem to have a bit of a talent for spotting unusual trends in numbers, and it should come as no surprise that that is the case. After all, I was the one that brought to your attention the universal equation, which is a unique way of filtering large numbers down just to two numbers, a 9 or a 0. And yesterday I was looking at this. What we can see here, the numbers of infected, the numbers of deaths, and the numbers of people that have recovered. And I spotted an unusual trend in these numbers, especially with, I could leave you in suspense a little bit, but I won't. I'll get straight into it. But before I do, I just want to say a big thanks to a few people that are sticking with me here at the observatory and keeping us ticking over. I've always said this, we've got 31,000 subscribers. On average, we have over 2,000 views on our videos, and, it's always down to just a couple of people that, support us. So, special thanks to Brian anyhow for his donation yesterday. And, I'll just say the link is down there. Hopefully we do provide, a service, and, hopefully some people will appreciate that. So what is the trend? Could not believe, notice this, that when I saw the first three here at the highest infected countries, that there was also something of interest there. First of all, if we're looking at China and then compare the religions of all these three countries, what we have is probably the most three highest or main religions, on our planet. We've got in China, Buddhism. In Italy, obviously is the home of the Vatican, and therefore is the home of Catholic religion. And then we've got Iran, which is an Islamic country, and obviously follows the Islamic religion. And then we've got from there on other countries. But what really stood out to me was the fact that Italy is really the unusual one. Because it's a small country, it was not directly bordering, the main outbreak yet. For some reason, it has got high numbers of death rates, confirmed cases, and I will say this. I also noticed that I feel that there should be another category on these, and that should be the ones that have recovered but have regained the virus again. Because you can recatch this, and there has been a lot of cases where that has happened. So although they've got the recovered rate, and most people would think that that's where it stops, it doesn't, because these people are now recovered. They've probably isolated themselves for 20-something days, and then they've gone back out, and then within a few weeks they've caught it again. I was looking at the numbers from confirmed cases in China to the numbers that have recovered. And then if you deduct, it's around about 19,000, if you deduct the 3,162 deaths off that, you're left with probably around about 16,500 people that are still walking around, with the infection. And then you should also add the numbers of recovered people that have caught the infection again. These numbers show clearly that this is going to be a long-lasting problem that is going to go into the years. We know that in China there's over 1 billion people in population, and we're just at 100,000 at the moment, which is just the tip of the needle point. And when you get into these large numbers, if you do the math, you run it through the algorithms, it tells us that around about the 20th of March, that 80,000 will be 294,000 confirmed cases, and you can just imagine how many people will have died by then, and how many people will have recovered. And then, like I say, the missing chart that we're not looking at is the people that have recovered and got the COVID-19 again. And let's face it, we also have another problem here, which tells us that this is going to be a long-lasting thing, is that, we know that after 100,000 infections globally, it's already mutated once. So if you had the first mutation of this, you have no antibodies in your body to fight off the new one. and therefore, you're going to get it again. And this is going to continue, guys. And what we're seeing is, countries following suit. First of all, we look at the top of the list here. I just want to show you as well the other countries here that have got, small cases and small numbers, right? As you can see, on the right-hand side is the countries with the less cases, right? And I just want to say this: a lot of these countries with numbers of ones and twos are countries that probably have not used the correct testing methods to identify actual disease that we are looking at here, COVID-19, or its mutated version. But it starts off at 1, then works its way up to 2. I was particularly interested in following what's going on in Lithuania, because now this number has jumped up to 3. And, the reason why I'm interested in that is because, if you guys know, my partner is Lithuanian, and, she keeps in touch with family members there. And her family members sent us some photos yesterday of what's happening in the streets there, with, small teams of people going around with disinfectant on the streets. They're trying to clean the streets. Well, at that point, they only had 1 confirmed case. Seems to me like, they're spending a lot of money for just the fact that they've got 1 case. I think that there is more than 1 case. They just aren't identifying it as Corona-19 or COVID-19. But, it starts off at low numbers, and then, a matter of months, it's in the high numbers, and that's exactly what we're seeing now. The numbers in the UK are starting to increase. We're at 456. Yesterday, it was 473. And, once you get into the higher numbers, things start to accelerate. If you look at the spread rate on a chart, it's an exponential chart. It goes from the bottom left-hand corner to the top right-hand corner, and that's an acceleration chart. It tells us that this thing is covering a lot more infections in a shorter space of time, and as the numbers increase, that exponential line stays constant. So, it tells us that, first of all, when we look at the numbers of infected people in mainland China, we know that there's a lot more population there, but right now, they've probably got around 16,500 people that have confirmed with the virus that are walking around spreading it to others. If we go back to, other countries like Qatar, we can see that there's 262 infected. None have died yet, none have recovered yet, but there are still people walking around infecting others. This is just confirmed numbers, guys, that we're looking at. And I've been talking to a few people in my little think tank, that's what I like to call it these days, and we're saying that the country's now starting to hide the figures. China probably has a hell of a lot more infected people than what they are actually showing. And, the reason why they're not showing the figures is because they know it's got out of hand. They don't want to be seen globally as losing control of this, but that is the action, that's the actions of, falsifying the actual confirmed numbers. The algorithms that we're using, you can go over to Andology's channel and have a look at the algorithms there. I think he's just produced version 4 of this now. I've taken a lot of things into consideration, and what they're showing is that, by around about June, here in the UK, there will be millions infected and confirmed, and the death rate is going to go up as well as a result of that. And the recovered rate will also, as we see, follow trends that similar to what we're seeing here. But like I say, the problem's not going to go away, simply because, the reinfected people are not even part of this equation that we're looking at. And you have to have, in order to, predict what's going on, you have to also add that into your algorithm. It's very difficult to do that. And you also have to add, I believe, into the algorithms the possibility of mutation. So, if it's 1 in 100,000, then you can, do the math. 7 billion people on the planet, we've got probably hundreds more mutations to come, and as a result, we start from square one again. It's a bit like snakes and ladders. You go so far, you almost think you're going to complete the game, and then you hit a snake and you come all the way back down to square one. I'm just saying to you guys out there that, you know, this is the start of something really, really ugly further on down the road. And as it goes on, you know, we run the risks of mutations that don't just affect people, you know, and the vulnerable, the ones with low immune systems, diabetes, you name it. You know, there's people with organ transplants that are taking anti-rejection drugs, things like that. You know, those people fall into the category of, you know, many, many, many thousands of people that are vulnerable to this, as it is, being a serious threat to them. I'm just saying that this is going to go on for a long period of time now. If we just look at mainland China, Italy and Iran, we can see the first two countries with the major outbreaks on there, obviously, you know, as I pointed out. It seems almost biblical, doesn't it, that it's, you know, gone for the three main religions on our planet. But, you know, if we just look at those numbers, sort of lost the train of thought there. We can see basically that these numbers are going to, at this point where they get to these high numbers, it's going to accelerate throughout that population. You know, it is going to be millions in the coming months. And that's where I was going with this. Mainland China have closed down the ports, not exporting. Italy has shut down, pretty much the same. Iran will do the same. South Korea will do the same. And all these other countries with high numbers are going to follow suit. And this is why we're telling you to go and get your food now. Because as each country shuts down, you know, we will no longer enjoy what we see from those countries in terms of produce and products. And that means, you know, if you're a company that relies on equipment for other countries, or even you're a country that relies on, you know, your imports of food, then, you know, as these countries shut down one by one over the coming months, you know, those things in the shops from that country are going to disappear. And, you know, we're hearing talks already in the UK of schools closing down, following suit, like Italy. You know, if we see all these things taking place now, you know, we can make certain predictions. And, you know, if we know that this can't be cleared up in a year, and it simply cannot, it's going to just escalate like crazy. I know there's some people saying, yeah, but once it gets to a certain period, it'll burn itself out and that'll be the end of it. Well, it won't, because for two reasons. You know, people that have recovered have caught it again, and secondly, you know, this thing has already showed us that it can mutate after 100,000 infections or confirmed cases. So we're dealing with something that is going to stay with us, and it's going to change the way we do business, and that's probably what our governments have already got. And I was saying this yesterday, you know, the algorithms that we've got are the same algorithms that the government are using, you know, for predicting numbers of deaths, confirmed cases, and etc., etc. You know, there's no difference between the guy that is working for the government, building the, you know, the modelling systems, to the guy that we've got, Andy, who's building the systems. He's a very, very clever guy, and he knows his business, and he's trying to, you know, improve regularly on his versions of this prediction app that he's got, you know, so that we can get an accurate forecast of what's going to go down and when. But from what we can see on this chart, it just seems that when the numbers increase to a certain level, and they're going to, in every single country that is on this list, even though it starts with one, it's just a slow acceleration to begin with, and then it becomes exponential. It just tells us that, you know, we've got to deal with this for years to come. And if that's the case, can we keep the schools closed for years? Can we keep, you know, people from visiting their, you know, religious temples or whatever? You know, can we keep, you know, people locked up in their homes? Some of the video footage that I've seen in Wuhan of people that are coming out on stretchers is remarkably similar to conditions and images that you would associate with a concentration camp. they're starving in their own homes, and they're being brought out like skeletons. More needs to be done to prevent this sort of thing happening. You can't just expect people to lock themselves in homes, not go to work, not earn money, and in turn not be able to buy themselves some food, and in turn the government just sits there watching this take place. We've got another thing that is causing deaths associated to this right now in China. We're going to see it in Italy, and that is starvation. Can you believe that? And unless the government act and make sure that regular food supplies, water gets into these people, then we're going to see more deaths as a result of that. So a lot of people right now are thinking this is just a common cold. They're just not seeing the other aspects that are attached to it, and for that reason, a lot more people are going to die as a result of it. It's going to affect the global economy. Like the Bank of England has said, we could see half the world's wealth wiped out. That's a serious statement, guys, and there must be a reason for them to come out with that. I don't think it's just to frighten people. I think they actually know the severity of this, as this little think tank of ours does. And at the moment, they may be dealing with the short numbers that are coming through the hospitals, but in a few months' time, they will be inundated and they will not be able to cope. And what you've got to remember is hospitals are not just dealing with people with COVID-19, they're actually dealing with people that are suffering from cancer, that need life-saving operations, that have got illnesses, broken arms, this, that and the other. And, they're just simply not going to be able to deal with the numbers. If in a couple of months' time, we are dealing with hundreds of thousands of infections here in the UK, the NH system will be overwhelmed, regardless of what the small amount of number of cash the government has put up for this. Is it 30 billion? That won't even touch the tip of the iceberg. So, guys, I'll keep you informed. I just thought I'd bring you that to your attention. It's almost like a biblical attack on the world's religion, isn't it? Three of the main religions there, straight up at the top, most infected countries. Italy is very unusual. 1 out of the 3, because it doesn't border China in any way, yet the numbers are sky high. It almost looks like it was deliberate to me. So, I just thought I'd bring that out to you. I'm one of these guys that notice unusual things. People that know me know I've got a bit of an unusual thought pattern. I don't think like a lot of people. I'll just give you a for instance. I remember one of my friends saying to me, "You notice unusual things, you do, Gene." And that was when we was on our way to the Le Mans in France to watch the 24-hour race. So I was sitting there in the back of the car on the way there going through France, and I just noticed that the way that they build their pylon towers in that country is completely different to the way we do in our country. And I mentioned it, and they just couldn't believe the randomness of me spotting something like that. And they did agree. Yeah, now that you mention it, it is unusual, but I spot these things. So, there you are, guys. So, again, guys, we're suffering here at the observatory with funds. We need to keep raising funds in order to keep ourselves going here. We've got a lot of equipment set to go out in the coming days. And if you're living in Brazil or South Central Australia, please get in touch with me down in the link section there, because we've got some equipment that we'd be delighted to send out to you guys in order so that we can continue our research on the magnetic current pole shift that's taking place. And of course, as this is now on the topic of a lot of people's conversations, we'll keep you informed with what's going on with COVID-19 as well. And as it does mutate, we'll keep you informed with that. So yeah, if you haven't already, get some preparations in, guys. And I'll just mention the link once more down there. Don't forget the link, guys. We need support here. And that's how we usually do. You have a great day. Look after your loved ones, and as always, bye for now.